Thurston put him on his back. Thurston, right foot kick, down the ground, into the in goal almost. Hodgson cuts it off. Hodgson taken by Norton. He took him late. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside. Richards pursued. He pushes Johnson away.
Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 4th of February, 2025. You're back for another episode of the Tiger Town podcast with your host, Zac and Toby, brought to you as always by Best On Ground Digital, bestongrounddigital.com, the digital marketing agency that looks after the little guy. It will not steer you wrong, bestongrounddigital.com. Toby, other end of the line, how you going, mate?
Oh, mate, just talking to you before, got a cracking headache, so this should be a fun podcast, but, you know, we got to do what we got to do. We got to get these out to the millions of listeners we have, clearly.
Clearly, yeah. I don't know, mate, how your arithmetic is, but we might need to revisit that after the show, I think.
No? Okay. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, hey?
The millions of objections that Mavericks fans have to the Luka Doncic trade to the
we were
Lakers.
just talking
How's
about
that
that
for segue?
before. Wow, yeah, we
there?
were just talking about that before. Like, this is obviously not something we generally talk about in terms of NBA, but when I saw that trade deal, I was like, it was one of the biggest head scratches I think I've ever seen, ever.
I think you and everybody that follows the entire NBA, we don't follow it super closely, but Jesus, even as outside observers, incredible. Anyway, moving on. We're not here to talk about the what would you say? I can't even put a pun in there. I'll let it be. Mate, everything's been going well since the last pod. A couple of weeks ago, we kicked the show off for the year.
Yeah,
great feedback.
We kicked the year off. Yeah, it seems to be. We've had a few new listeners since the new year, which is awesome. So thanks to everyone that listened last one. But yeah, man, things have been good. Like, we say this every single week. Every single week we go, how are things going? And we're like, mate, we're both almost 40. We both got families. We both got jobs. Nothing really changes. So,
well, no. Within reason, I guess. But yeah, it's pretty consistent, isn't it? But you've had a change recently, mate. Your eldest started big school.
She did, actually. Yeah, that actually was a big change. She went last Thursday, and yesterday was day 4. So yeah, happy days. She seems to love it. So, you know, only one tantrum on the last day last week. So I guess, you know, you gotta, you know, be thankful for small victories.
Yep.
So
you do. Very good.
But yeah, a few more years until my youngest goes, and then I don't have to worry about childcare fees. So thank God.
Right, mate. No, it all begins then, though. You're going to have extracurriculars and sporting activities and dance classes and pony trail ride lessons, and that's when the real fun begins, mate.
I don't have the money for pony trail ride. Go get her into dance for like $15 a lesson. That's all I've done.
Not with that attitude, mate. Hey, West Tigers. Not a whole lot happened between the last show and this show. We did see Barry O'Farrell officially appointed as not interim chair, but now the chairman of the West Tigers board.
Yep.
Thoughts on that, mate?
Oh, mate, it's a foregone conclusion, wasn't it? Because I remember it was either last pod or it was the one before the end of the year last year, but I think it was last one we were discussing the new board and all that jazz. And I think I brought up to you that he was only appointed as part of the board. He hasn't been solidified as the chair. But as you said then, it was only a matter of time. So very, very happy that that's come to fruition. You know, we've got such stability now. It's one of those things now where we cannot let any off-field distractions blame any off-field distractions, because it clearly feels like there's none. It's like all the ducks are in a row. Everything seems so. You know, boys have just got to put on the field now because all of that noise has been silenced.
Absolutely, and it's the exact sort of stuff that we've been craving for eons. And we've spoken about that ad nauseum. And, you know, part of the reason that we got on board with the guys at West Tigers United in that off-season was because of hearing about the rumblings about the board and the tiresome feelings that we had to it. It had been years, literal years. It feels as though decades since we've had some stability at that level, and it seems as though those things are in place now, mate, and it's very exciting. And in many ways, it's a bit of a set and forget for us as fans, which is unbelievable, because that's what we want to do coming into this year, as far as I'm concerned, is we want to focus on football again. And I don't know, I had a feeling this afternoon for the first time. I've had a very busy summer, and Tigers as I am, I'm everything Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
The first time this afternoon, I started to get a little bit excited to talk football with you tonight, and the show we did 2 weeks ago, obviously, as well. But it's starting to feel as though it's getting close, and I think that
it does. Yeah,
I think that coming into the season, knowing that all that board stuff is behind us, and emphatically behind us now, I think we can safely say, really pleasing, and mate, we can just start talking footy. So
yeah, exactly.
No negatives there.
No, and like very much the same as you. It's when you go away for Christmas and you have that bit of a break, and it definitely feels like you take your foot off the pedal a little bit in terms of your passion for, like, it'll never waver, but like the game and your team and everything like that, you sort of take a breath. And now, everything that's kind of led up to this point, like to do this pod today, we've discussed the games, just mentioning before that we obviously live in Brisbane, you and I, and the Tigers are playing Redcliffe at KO Stadium. And, we both played at that ground. I don't know. Actually, have you? Have you played at Redcliffe
Dolphin
Stadium
Oval
before? Yeah.
I can't remember if I did as a junior or not. I'd say I would have. Oh, not as a junior, but when we were younger. I'd say I would have at some point. Yeah.
I played a couple of games there because Redcliffe were in the grade that I was playing at the time. And it's such a beautiful oval. Like it's so good to witness it as well. And so I was trying to buy tickets just then before we went and started talking, and for some reason Ticketek's been a dick and not letting me buy anything yet. Hopefully that doesn't mean it's already sold out, but hopefully I can get us some tickets, and maybe we'll take the fam as well, because it's a beautiful venue for families as well.
It is. It's well set up. The Leagues Club's second to none out there, and it's really nice setup, nice outlook out in the peninsula there. I was going to say to you that if I did, it's clearly not as memorable playing against Redcliffe as it was playing against Deception Bay, and all the games we played against Deception Bay in Deception Bay. Wasn't that all right, mate?
Oh, mate. Every single time you ran the ball up, you were wondering if you were going to cop a knee to the face, an elbow to the chin.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. That was just from the referees.
Yeah. And then, D-Bay got not kicked out, but they sort of split from another group, and then Moreton Bay came into it, the Moreton Bay Pride. And that was another level. That was another level above D-Bay. So,
yeah. There's a few stories there. And D-Bay was split into two mob too, from memory. The Jets and the Bombers.
Yeah, they were
actually. Blues,
something
maybe.
like that, yeah.
I can't remember. If anybody's from Deception Bay or just up around Bramble Bay up this way, then give us a shout out. Correct us.
Or just played in footy in Brisbane in general, and played
at some point
and played them back. Yeah, it's been a while since you and I both played footy. For me, it's going on maybe 8 years, for you a little bit longer. But yeah, maybe it's changed, maybe it hasn't. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, mate, I thought that tonight we're going to be heading into the season proper, obviously, in the space of a pretty quick month. I think we're looking at a short month being February, and 4 weeks time, or there or thereabouts,
till the season.
4 possibly 5 weeks time. But we've got a trial coming up in a couple of weeks on the 16th. Is that correct?
Next Sunday, not this Sunday coming, but the Sunday after. Like that's
Sunday
ridiculous.
week. Yep, which puts us on the 16th. So that's exciting. We're going to play against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. I thought what we do tonight, mate, given that we still do have a few shows leading up into the seasons, we might have a look at this first trial, and we don't really have anything to go on from the Canterbury side of things. But in terms of Tigers, we might talk depth charts, and we might think or have a look at, I guess, how we think the sides might line up for this first trial, given, I guess, the way
you're going to have to bloody pull up the lineup again.
Bit of research, mate, never hurt, hey? It's the first time for everything.
No. Do you think any of the junior pathways will get a run?
Oh, yeah, look.
I mean, maybe after this also, you probably kept a little bit more of a close eye on the Junior Pathways game than I did last week. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well after this.
Yeah,
so
sure,
cool.
mate. Yeah, happy to. For anybody who is unaware, you've got the results there from the mats and ball games over the weekends, mate?
Yep. Give me 2 secs. Just bringing it up. Harold Mats. So I think that was black and gold versus black and white.
It was, mate.
Was, yeah. Magpies 42, Tigers 4.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it. And if I'm looking at player stats, they don't have player stats, just team stats. That's a bit silly. But yeah, it's not surprising with Harold Mats. I think for me the surprising one was SG Ball, because I think it was another Magpies v Tigers outing, and if
it
I
was,
remember
mate.
correctly,
It was,
Tigers
mate. Yeah,
won.
it was that club day out there with the Magpies playing Balmain.
Yep.
And in the SG Ball, Balmain got up. So
Yeah.
quite a tight game from what we could see. A few decent standouts and whatnot. We obviously we're based up north, so we're not. We can only go off highlights that are shown and the way that those people who were able to get the game and share their insights can pass on that information this time around. But look, quite interesting. The Balmain side in SG Ball was talked up a little bit to be a little bit stronger this year than the way that they sort of were able to field last year, and it's pretty evident there. I think Magpies will be relatively strong again, though we do have a lot of our younger guys that will be pushing up into cup spots possibly as well too, up into flag also. So given that we're a pretty junior heavy club in that regard, mate. So it's going to be interesting to see that unfold. But yeah, good little result for Balmain in Ball there, and I guess the Maggies sort of picked up where they left off in some ways in the Harold Mats.
Yeah, and then obviously I think the Tasha Gale kicked off as well. Did they not? Yes. So they beat the Roosters Indigenous Academy 12-10.
Yep, very good.
There we go.
I think I recall they were behind at one stage, I think, but I didn't see the final score in the end. So if they did get up according to you there, then that's good to see. So
there you go. So that's a bit of a wrap up of the juniors.
I will as well have to throw out to West Tigers faithful. They did an episode last week. They've got a couple coming up where they're speaking to some of the junior coaches of the pathway systems and breaking down the squads in a fair bit of depth as well, far beyond what I've got my little fingers on. And I know that Reedy down there is a local by all accounts, so interesting listens to those guys get on over, and they will really break down what's going on in the junior department. And I think they've got an interview coming up with Shannon Gallant as well, who's heading up some of our pathways work down there too. So that should be an interesting listen. So if you haven't already in the junior department, get on over and give those blokes a listen.
Absolutely. I know Joe personally as well. Good bloke.
Yeah. Mate, so trials, Bulldogs. First trial, correct me if I'm wrong, generally used to try several combinations, maybe get a look at a couple of up-and-comers or some strong trainers over summer. What are your takes on the first trial and the way that the squads are kind of rolled out?
Well, the way that it's been discussed is actually Luai and Galvin might get the first hit out of the first trial, which is really uncommon. You don't really get your star player playing in the first instance of a trial. They're usually rested until the final, but it sounds like they're going to try to get them as much game time as possible. Luai came out and said it. You can read all the books you want, you can train all you want, but there's nothing like actually building that combination on the field in a game. So, I don't know, it's interesting.
Okay. I heard something about that a little while ago, but as far as I had read, Luai and Taruva have been confirmed for the second trial. So whether that was a plan originally and with Luai's, I guess, cautionary quad scan that they had to get, they've changed it. I'm not sure. I don't personally think that we will see Luai in that first trial. And Part of me probably doubts Galvin as well, but you might have information that I don't.
Well, yeah, no, it's all based on what I've read, and that's probably the same stuff you've read. So, that's all I can take from it. But yeah, like from what you would assume, and it has been history from day dot, really, in terms of trials. The first trial is generally getting a few people that are on the cusp, a bit of a chance to prove themselves, people that are coming back from injury, and then maybe just giving a couple of people a chance to show what it's like to play against men and elite footballers. But in saying that, big things can come from the first trial. And the reason I say that is our best player last year was one of the first people in that trial in terms of Sam. Sam played, if you remember correctly, we played the Dragons in the first trial, and he was hot-headed. We was like, you need to control that aggression, you need to do this, you need to do that. And then he just became a mainstay, and then he became our best player last year. So, it's not something to scoff at the first trial in terms of, it's just, people on the cusp who really wants to watch them. There's literally chances for people to cement themselves or to at least impress to get the chance to cement themselves.
Yeah, it's true. And you don't have an entire side made up with non-NRL first graders either. You can't do that. You need experience out there. I think from memory, Utoika Manu captained the side in against the Warriors, I think, in the trial. And so, yeah, you do need to have some leaders around there to steer the ship around. What I thought we might do, mate, is maybe go position by position, talk about the likely names that we may see and who might be vying for a spot, maybe, and I guess what we like off the back of that as well.
Yep.
So I've got some of the lists here in front of me. I may miss several. I'm not around all of the fringe players. I've got a reasonable understanding, but as we go through the list, Toby and I'll just throw a few names back and forth. And if you agree with some or you don't agree with some, throw it in the comments. Let us know where we're right or who we might have forgot, because I guarantee I'm going to forget a couple, mate. So fullback, obviously, I don't think we're going to get a look at Buller. In fact, I know, or I would bet anything on the fact that we don't, given that he's been on reduced contact over the off-season following shoulder surgery. So, mate, for me, I think we're going to see possibly a bit of Luke Leilali'i back there, Charlie Staines and Heath Mason is what I'm thinking. Who do you think lines up in that fullback spot, that first trial, and why?
I'd probably say, from based on last year, I'd say Heath Mason will probably be getting the first jump. Wouldn't mind seeing Luke there for a bit. Apparently, first glimpse I ever saw of Luke was last year when he played NRL. You saw him a lot before that in yourself, but I've never seen him play fullback. Only ever seen him play on the wings, but apparently fullback, he's just an absolute dynamite. So I'd like to see him get a bit of a run there, but I dare say Heath Mason will get the first crack in the trial anyway. So,
yeah, I agree, and I think he's been earmarked himself, or he has. I know why I'm saying that word is redundant. He's been earmarked, for as far as I can tell, as the backup fullback. We saw at the back end of last season, whether it's just experience or whatnot, but he came in and filled in for Buller, and I thought did quite a decent job. I think intra-game, we're probably looking at a Taruva to drop back, or other changes, whatnot. If Staines happens to snag a starting spot, he's probably an option to drop back as well intra-game. But I think if we're going into a game over the course of the season without Buller, hopefully there's none of those, but if we do, I think Mason is that backup, and so I think he has to start in that number one in that first trial, mate. Yeah, I agree with you in that regard. Mason is a half come fullback, so he could play multiple positions as well, but I think that's what we'll see. Yeah. So, mate, on the wings then, we've spoken about how we're thinking the likes of Skelton, who's come in, and our other winger will be Taruva. Obviously, won't be playing because of the appendix. They're probably, or they have a high chance, I think, to be our walk-up starters. Maybe throw a Staines in there. I think Luke Leilali'i's probably on the edge there too, but I think Skelton was brought in for a reason, so we probably don't expect to see those guys. Would you expect to see? Not. Would you expect to see the likes of a Staines and a Leilali'i on the wings in the trial, or is there any other names that might pop out to you?
I'd say Staines. If let's say, for instance, there is the chance that Skelton will get a bit of a run just because He is brand new. He is brand new to the club. He wasn't a startup winger in the Bulldogs either, so he might get one to get a bit more a bit more miles in the legs and a bit more game time before the season starts. But again, probably unlikely. So Staines and Laulee's best bet to start. The extended bench will probably include the likes of Alex Lobb and Declan Casey and things like that as well.
Well, Casey's no longer with the club,
Oh,
so it
is
won't
he
be
not?
Casey. But the Lob.
Where'd he go?
Not sure, mate. Off into the
He's still
wilderness,
on the
but
side.
the Lobster is.
Huh. Yeah, that's funny because yeah.
So there's another couple of names that we might hear from possibly. Cameron Canaan is in the New South Wales Cup squad. Traditionally a fullback from memory, and I know with a few of these juniors, I may put my foot in it if I speak out of turn from the guys at WTF over there. I know that they're all things juniors, but good young player. We might see a situation where he gets a little bit of a run on the wing. Sometimes we do see some of these players that people really unknown names. One name that is not unknown that may get a run, and I don't know how it works. We discussed this briefly last show around getting dispensations for underage people, but Hamasi. So Hamasi Makasini, if you haven't heard the name, you will know about the name. He's the best junior in the country, and we've got him. We just extended him last year. He's a 17-year-old, turns 18 this year. He's in the New South Wales Cup squad. Traditionally a centre, beast of a centre. We've spoken about him in the past, but can play wing as well. So I wonder. I would like to see it. If they seek approval, or if approval isn't required for a 17-year-old to play in a trial, I'd love to see Hamasi have a game. And if he does, I think, a wing is probably a safe spot, but we could see him pop up in the centres too if he does get picked in that squad.
Yeah. Well, like I said 2 weeks ago, that would definitely be something that I'd definitely love to see would be Hamasi get a run just so that I can see a bit more of him rather than highlights.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen him play games. So
either way, he's still obviously SG ball eligible, flag eligible, and he'll be playing cup as well, and probably get a taste of NRL at some point if his trajectory continues over the course of the year. So itching to see him, but there won't be a shortage of football to watch of him. Fingers crossed this year. That's the wingers, mate. Centres. So we've spoken first grade. Justin Olam walks up start, and then we're talking a Dewey or a Toa, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
Yeah. Do you see either of those two blokes getting a bit of a battle possibly to start that first trial? Give them 20, 25 minutes to sort of face off, or even do a half a side, or how do you see that playing out in centres?
I actually see three people putting their hand up, and Naden's the other one.
Yep.
I see there's going to be, I see all three being named. Whoever starts, it'll probably be Toa and Naden to start, and Dewey come off the bench. But I think it's to solidify that right hand side. Because Olam's on the left. Yep, to solidify that right hand side spot. Because as you know, we spoke about last time. Apparently, Naden's been training the house down, impressing everyone that needs to be impressed. His attitude's changed.
I'll add to that too. That he probably should have been mentioned in the wing conversation, and he's every chance to start to grab one of those starting spots because he's only a couple of drops down, and we don't know whether they're seeing him as a winger or a centre these days.
That's true. Well, he has spoken about the fact that he wants to claim back a wing spot in the media, so who knows? But you and I both agree he's a better centre than he is a winger. If he can get those stupid things out of his game, he's a great centre. So, I think it's going to be very much a battle in the first trial. I think it's going to be who's going to stand up. And we mentioned again 2 weeks ago that Toa was probably one of our best at the back end of 2023, hampered by injury in 2024, so didn't really get any momentum at all. So he's back to full contact, back to running, everything like that. You'd like to think he'll probably get the first crack at trying to impress, and then it'll be the other two coming to have a bit of a start at it. So
Yeah. So I agree. I think a Naden Toa starting centre pair for that first trial is not out of the realms of possibility. You can then go down through the line and you've got the likes of Tape, who seems a long way down the pecking order now, to be honest. You've got Folletti, who I think sits a couple of drops down as well. And in terms of others, look, we can jump back into that extended list. But
Sakura.
Yeah, look, Sakura may get a run if he's injury-free, but he very much hasn't really been spoken too much about from what I can see. Outside of that, there's probably a handful of other players in and around that New South Wales Cup squad that I'm missing at the moment that we may miss. So, look, there's a few in there as well. So we might see a bit of rotation at centre. I don't expect to see anybody sort of set and forget the trials. It's obviously rarely the case anyway, isn't it, mate? But, we're without Taruva. They're going to rest Olam. They're probably going to put Dewey and Cottonwool as well. So it does sort of really start to narrow down some of those outside back options.
It does. I understand why they put Dewey and Cottonwool just with his history. But the unfortunate thing is we've gone through 3 wooden spoons. We need somebody that is going to stand up and stay there. And you never know, maybe even a Jack Bird might get a run in there. You never know. But if he's serious and if they're serious about him, they've got to take the Cottonwool off because it's not doing anyone any justice.
Yeah. 5/8, mate. Do you see? You mentioned before you thought that Lockie Galvin might get a run. I don't see it personally. I see Latu coming up.
Like I said, I don't think that's what's going to happen. That's just what I've read in the paper. So
yeah, okay. Well, I see Latu getting a good run in there. To be honest, in that first trial, it wouldn't surprise me if he plays in the halves in the second trial as well off the bench, maybe giving Jerome a rest in the second half too. So I think Latu's going to get a bit of trial time, which is good to see because we do need to get some miles in his legs after a pretty lean little game trot, I guess, over the last year or two. If I go across there and look at our squad, who else would you expect to see in that 5/8 position?
You probably don't see anyone else that's really contending other than Latu and Galvin, but I guess Iverson Matai is still there, isn't he?
He is down low, yep. The one I expect to see is probably Kurt Falls playing halfback. Talking about halves, if I'm leading into talking about that, who we've signed from up in the Q Cup there, obviously out of Penrith. He played a bit of Penrith there for a while. And as I go on down through that list, look, I think they're going to keep the halves situation relatively simple. They might play the back end of the first trial with a couple of people having a go. Maybe Falls gets a bit of a run there. Maybe they look to him, Iverson Matai, like you said. They might even look at John Ibrahim. I think he's playing halves. Might have had a complete brain fart on that one. But yeah, mate, so I see them keeping it pretty simple, and I think they're going to keep their powder dry for that second trial.
Yeah, I'm just checking on this Kurt Falls. There you go. Didn't even
missed
know.
that one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, no, good little signing, mate.
Things, mate. We have a chat for a bloody reason, mate.
Sorry, buddy. I thought you knew how to do basic research on the football club that you know and love, but no worries. I'll take note for next time.
Oh, I'm sorry, mate. I actually work for a living rather than scour the forums like you do.
Yeah, right. But you're the one in IT, though. You should know what you're doing.
It's busy, mate.
So I might mention Kurt Falls then. I could see him probably starting in that halfback position. Something that I think that maybe paired up with Latu might not be a bad connection. And to be honest, I think that may well be the New South Wales Cup pairing for most of the year. I know Latu is going to get plenty of time in the NRL. He needs it, but he also needs at least a decent half season to a season playing in that starting halves role against men. And I think we're going to see that combination a little bit. So the first trial seems to me a great place to kick it off.
Okay.
Mate, move on into the forwards, keep the show moving. It's not going to be a tremendously long one tonight. You're a bit under the weather yourself, but we'll keep going. I think we're making pretty good progress at this stage. Mate, into the prop department. I guess, again, we'll keep that same metric around who do we expect not to see. I'm not expecting to see Terrell. I'm not expecting to see Royce.
No.
Probably not expecting to see Clem.
Well, I think Royce will be in the All-Stars, so...
Yeah,
he's
fair enough.
He's the face of the Māori All-Stars, so that's where he'll be.
Yeah, true. Fair enough. That makes perfect sense. So, mate, I can see the likes of Twal getting a run. I can see probably Pole getting some minutes as well, possibly.
Probably Johansson will get a few.
Yep. So then we can move on to the likes of Johansson. I don't know what they're going to do with Seyfarth. I'm assuming they're going to look to move him to an edge because they kind of have to. Look, they've played Sukar in prop at occasion. He might get a run, but again, more likely probably on an edge is my best guess for that trial.
Sione will probably get a run.
Sione will get a run, I think. Yep. It sounds like like one that makes a lot of sense. I missed him on the list there. Going down through the list.
Do your research of a club you love.
Hey, listen here, mate. I'm not missing research. I've got more tabs than you've got brain cells. So
you got two.
Out of the I got more than that, mate. Out of the New South Wales Cup list, we've got Vaka Aho, who's a prop in New South Wales Cup. Keep on scrolling down. Who we got? So we mentioned the likes of Tim Johansson. Might see his brother Noah as well. Of a similar mould. We got Jackson Rami, I think, plays edge, New South Wales Cup specialist, plays a bit of edge. Tassapale, is he playing edge or middle? I can't remember from memory. One I would love to see personally is Big Herman Tofoiono. He's a bit of a back fence steam train sort of dude and did a bit of that in Jersey Flegg last year. And I think he played a handful of cup games himself. So I'd love to see Big Herman get a run off the bench in that first trial in props. So, mate, I'm thinking probably a 12 for Nua's start. Would be surprised to see something like that.
Yeah, I'd probably see 12 Sione to start. That's probably my guess. Just because, you made it abundantly clear 2 weeks ago that we're very lacking in the lock department or the second row department, and we have to make do with what we have with our locks. So I think they'll probably keep or try to ensure that Pole gets enough game time at lock if that's where they go, which makes a lot of sense considering that's how it started last year. So I'd probably see more of a 12 Sione to start. And for me, that makes the most sense.
Yeah. Okay. Mate, hookers are an interesting one. So we've got, obviously, Appy won't be playing. Unless, look, they could pull a surprise and they could field a strong side for the first 20 minutes. They may well do it. As you spoke to, there was whispers of it possibly a month or two back that that's the way that they were going to go. My suggestion or my suspicion would be they won't. So I suspect Appy will be rested. I'm sure Talon probably starts. I would say is probably a pretty reasonably safe bet. And there's some quite good understudies this year. In Tristan Hope in the New South Wales Cup squad has come down from up north this way in Queensland. And good young player from what I've heard. He's actually a good friend of a mate of mine, and we were going to try to have a bit of a yarn to Tristan at some point, but we'll see how we go with that in that regard. So I hope he gets a bit of time himself. And then there's young Jared Haywood, mate, who has come through. He's in the Balmain SG Ball squad, I think, this year. But he's also in the squad for New South Wales Cups. He's held in pretty high regard. Australian schoolboy, Jared Haywood. He is a half-come hooker, and he's now playing hooker. And he's quite a good young player from what I've heard. And he's not that far behind Talon in terms of age and development and everything else as well. So Haywood is a very interesting one to watch. So I think hooker's going to be pretty well covered in that first and possibly second trial.
Yeah, I think so. I think, Haywood, correct me if I'm wrong, but made the schoolboy side year before?
Yeah, Australian schoolboys.
So he's
good pedigree.
Good pedigree.
Yeah.
Really good way to put that then, mate. Well done. You're a wordsmith. So, look, for the first time, even probably since Robbie was there, we never really had an understudy for Robbie. It was always just Robbie and then who do we fill there? Like we had Josh Morris for a bit, but Josh Morris was a Mr. Fix-It. He was never a specialised hooker. This is like the first time in a long time I feel like we have that position very well covered. Very well covered.
Yeah, and look, touch wood, anything can happen, but I agree. I mean, if we look down the depth charts, and I think we will when we get a little bit closer to the NRL season, and we sort of in some ways tonight are discussing it, I guess, and that's probably where you've led that from. But yeah, hooker, halves. There are a number of areas that we are short in this squad, but there are a number of areas in the extended squad where we're reasonably well covered, and I think you're bang on the money there in hooker.
Yeah, like I said before, there's, it's safe to say back row, pretty short there. Centers probably still not solidified on a pairing there, but we can very comfortably say, I can confidently say who the next man up is if Appy goes down. Very confidently say, and then I can say it again, and then I can say it again. So it's pretty safe to say that if Appy goes down again, touch wood, TDS steps up. If TDS goes down, most likely Hope steps up, then Haywood. And that's it. Like, that's a very clear progression.
And depending on how everything else is happening in the club, you've also got Latu there as an option. He probably slides in because of his versatility above a couple of those two as well, even as a rotational basis. So,
yeah, true.
Hooker's quite well covered. Mate, on to second row, as you'd mentioned it, it's definitely a weak area across the club. I think Richo himself has identified that amongst a couple of other areas, one or two in the outside backs, as far as I'm concerned. Look, we've discussed a little bit, last time, first grade, and how that's up in the air. We're not really sure the way they're going to go in that regard with Samuela Fainu, the only one who is a lock.
Yep.
Essentially locked in. Mate, do you see Bird getting a run in this first trial at second row? As much as I spoke about that 2 weeks ago, I still believe that is what we should be doing. I'm really
it's the one that makes the most sense now.
I'm really starting to suspect they're going to go with him as a lock, but I hope they go second row. Do you see him getting a run there, or are they going to keep him on ice until the second one?
I don't think he will. I think he will be. If he's been trained at lock, that's probably where he'll start. But it makes the most sense now that you say it out loud.
Yeah.
It'll most likely be, say, Farthad'll partner Sam in the back row. It's pretty hard to see anyone else usurping him for that.
You're talking NRL.
I am. But for this trial, I don't see him getting a run at all. I see Bird being put in on ice. I don't think he'll be used until the second trial.
Okay, so do you see a Seafarth getting a run, Seafarth getting a run in that first one?
Yeah.
So some of the other names that we might expect to see, mate, obviously are the likes of Ruben Porter, Brandon Toomuth, Tony Sukar.
Yeah, I think all four of them will be named next week. I think it's very similar to, I guess, our centers in terms of we have one lock. There is like one locked in, and that's Sam, and there's no two ways about that. But the other one, it's like, who could we really use there? Who's the best to be used there? And I think those four, it's going to be another hit out. It's going to be another instance of who's going to put their hand up and who's going to stand up in a spot that we desperately need somebody to.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and there's a lot to play for, I think, in that second row position for this year. And it may not be for the starting spot necessarily, but you're playing for a pecking order in a position that the NRL side does not have a lot of depth in, as we've spoken about ad nauseum. And it may be the difference between playing 3 or 4 NRL games over the course of the year and barely seeing in our New South Wales Cup. So for the likes of your Sukars and your Toomuths and whatnot, it's a good opportunity, provided they get a game, to be able to put their best foot forward, I think, like you probably won't get at a lot of clubs at the moment in the second row position. The other one that might get a run, just looking at some of these extended lists, maybe the likes of your Jackson Rami, who I think was playing on an edge there, and the other one being Lachlan Broadalow, who
you've got a big raps on him, don't you?
I do. I think he's quality. I think that he needs to address quite a few defensive deficiencies at the moment, and I've got concerns about his motor from what I've seen. But yeah, definitely a good, strong ball runner, tackle breaker. So it would be good to see a couple of these guys. We often do see, and they may be 2 names that we see pop up.
Yep.
Mate, down to the lock position. So I'll put it on record once again. I think Jack Bird should be playing second row, and I think he should be playing low minutes, 45 to 50 minutes, but primarily second row. I suspect he might start NRL in lock, which means, for me, I don't think we see him regardless in this first trial. So who is next cab off the rank? From far as I can tell, they're liking the looks of Matamua this year.
Yeah, well, we've voiced our concerns about Matamua and his motor, his drive, and also his motivation. He is extremely lazy at times, but there's no doubt in his skill. That's the thing. There's no doubt about it. He can be an amazing attacking lock, but he can also be a horrible defensive lock. So if somebody's worked with him extensively to fix those deficiencies that he has in defense, he could definitely be a starter. But there was a big gap. And I'm talking like fucking miles in my eyes to be in a quality lock or even an NRL standard lock.
For me, it was his intensity. I think he's had a couple of little mini auditions, and I don't think he's brought the intensity that was required. And it might be to being a young bloke. Maybe he's relatively softly spoken, I think, from memory. There may well have been unfit too, but he has an opportunity as far as I'm concerned. The other one I failed to mention was obviously Polay, and we've spoken about how it's a pretty likely chance that we play the cards we're dealt this year, and Polay does get an extended run at lock, maybe sharing with Bird, possibly, mate. So he's another one in that department, I guess. And we could look at the likes of Kit Laulaliti. Do we expect him to get a little bit of time, possibly at lock? What do you think on Kit?
Well, that Kit was going to be my pocket rocket last year. I remember vividly when we started talking about the season ahead and who your starting lock was going to be. And I was like, I loved what I saw from Kit. And I heard he was just training the house down. I think Kit's going to be my starting lock. And then he just dropped. He lost confidence. Unfortunately, something switched or flipped, and he wasn't what I anticipated him to be. But 12 months is a long time. Very long time in football, and he's still young. I think is he 21 now? Even 20?
He's 19. I think he might be turning 20 this year.
He's got a lot of developing to do. A lot of developing. And I think he still has the makeup to actually be a quality NRL player. Whether that's lock or that bullocking cannonball off the bench prop. But I think he'll probably get a chance in the first trial. I would dare say that probably Matamua will start, and he'll be named on the extended bench. So that's it. And that's all based off what you're reading and what you're hearing in terms of he's starting to impress in preseason in terms of Matamua.
Yeah.
So that's how I envision it in terms of how that lock position is going to go in the trial. I can't see Polay getting even playing that game. I think he'll be another one that will probably be kept on ice until the second trial.
Yeah.
But apart from that, there's no one else. I mean, Fargutu has been released, so he's no longer an option.
We're forgetting an obvious one, I think, for me, and he's my lock prospect who I'd love to see get an extended run. I reckon he's NRL quality. I reckon he could play lock NRL level. Not 80-minute, but it's Sione.
Yeah, that's right. You do love him, don't you?
So I think we can see a bit of Matamua and Sione getting some rotational time, maybe, through that lock position. Whether he plays proper lock, not sure, but by all reports, he's been training the house down since he's rejoined the squad from signing that extension. I know he was with them on a training trial in the meantime, but he's been
he's earning that contract.
Yeah, well, he's earned it, but I don't know. I've always liked what he brings. I love his footwork. His hands are silky and solid first contact. It's just a little bit of work around that ruck, and I think that's a fitness thing, and, I'd like to see him get a bit of a run there.
When you say ruck, do you mean control of the ruck?
No, I'm talking about his work out of marker or his work between A and B there. If we're getting crafty hookers or we're getting you're getting your first prop back in behind the ruck if he's closing. Yeah. So I think he can sometimes get a little bit lazy in that regard. But again, he's a young man himself. It's easy to forget. And he's never got an extended run and all that sort of stuff as well. He's now signed an NRL contract and he's in the squad. So keen to see if he can rise to the occasion. I've got every confidence he can. I've really started to like what I see in his development.
Well, I mean, it's very, very clear that the Whānau blood is extremely rich in terms of football pedigree. You look at all four of them. You know, Manasi kind of threw it down the drain a little bit, but the other three, you know, it's just very clear that they have everything it takes to be an NRL footballer. So I wouldn't put it past it. I still think he's a prop. I still think he's better utilised in that prop rotation. But, yeah, you've been right and I've been wrong before. Not very often, but it does happen.
Oh, look, and trials are time to experiment too, I think. And I hope that they do play around with a couple of those options as well and sort of see what people can offer in a game sense too. And it's hard to get that over an off-season or a pre-season of training, I think, and seeing people in the game environment. You can really see what they're made of, particularly if you're trying them in positions that are a little bit different to what they're used to.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I will own is I remember vividly I had two names on my list last year in terms of I think they'll make it and I think they'll solidify themselves in the NRL squad. And they ended up being bags of shit. And that was Alex Lobb and Declan Casey. So maybe my judgment prior to the season is never always on point.
Not perfect, mate. I don't know about you. I think the description's a bit harsh. But
yeah, look, all right. I don't know you two, and if you're listening, I apologise for that, but do better.
I completely excommunicate myself from Toby's ideas.
At the end of the day, too, you played NRL, and I am the best armchair football you've ever seen in your life. So,
mate,
take my comments.
You're not even that. You're not even that.
Fucking oath I am.
Hey, mate, I'm looking forward to a bit of footy. What have we got? 12 days from today, 11 days from release tomorrow.
Yep. But we've still got footy on this weekend. The first trials are on, and I'll still be watching them. Even if the Tigers aren't playing, I'll still be watching them.
Mate, first weekend.
Footy's back.
Last weekend, without football's been and gone, I think we do have that break weekend. But I can't remember. I think because of how the Vegas games line up, it sort of semi-fills it. So.
Yeah. But then also Monday, I've got Super Bowl, so I can watch that as well.
Come around quick.
Yeah, it has. Fucking, I hope the Chiefs get absolutely walloped. Hate them.
Oh, they're becoming a Roger Federer of the league. Everybody's sick of winning, I think.
Yeah, but see, this is coming from a Patriots fan, so now I know how you all feel about the Patriots.
Yeah, you can stay at the bottom for 20 years, mate, for all I care.
Nah, we're coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
We're not. Arizona is still absolutely nowhere. And so long as they got Kyler Murray throwing it from 4'3" at the back of the line of scrimmage, we've got no hope.
Mate, we've mentioned this in the past. You just like to go for the underdogs.
I do. That's why. Anyway.
That's why you're always so angry.
That's it. That's why I'm always so frustrated. Maybe I should just start following a sport and just follow the best in the world. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, just follow golf. Golf's sick.
I do enjoy golf. I prefer playing it than watching it, though. Mate, it's probably time we wrap up the show. Nice and quick one. Appreciate you getting on the airwaves tonight, feeling your head was a little bit
I'm actually feeling better. So. Maybe talking about the Tigers has made me feel better. Hell yeah.
That is the first time that has ever happened in history, and may it not be the last.
No, that's a lie. I remember vividly around end of October 2005. I love talking about the Tigers.
Oh, it was good fun then. Yeah, it was great fun.
We watched that game together.
And the first few months of 2006 as well. It was great.
Yeah, until we lost the first 5 games in a row.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
No.
It's not good. Very good. As we always say, mate, do you want to add anything else before we go through the PSAs?
No, I don't think we've got... Oh, you know what? We usually try to do a bold prediction. We can't do any sink or swims. What is it? Sink or lifts.
We won't have an episode before the trial, so our next episode will be in a fortnight post-trial 1. So you better
we're not going to have one before the trial. I thought we were starting it from week to week now.
Well, mate, we might have to just wait and see.
Yeah. Well, I might...
Well, just in case, why don't you put your bold prediction about the trial?
Oh, okay.
What were you thinking?
I thought
I've
we're back
completely...
week to week. He's the one that controls everything, so don't apologize. Like, get him to apologize, not me.
Hey, if we have one comment that says go back to weekly shows already, hey, I'll see you this time next week.
All right. Well, if that's the case, bold prediction for the trial, I'm going to say that Naden will have a blinder that will almost solidify his position in the starting side.
Where is he going to play? Centre?
He's going to play in the centres. He's going to partner Olam.
Okay, so no Dewey, no Staffatoa.
Nope.
Okay.
He's going to have that good of a game.
I'm going to say that there won't be any positional answers off the back of number one, but I'm going to say Latu is going to give everybody a bath. He will be the best player. He'll be the best player on the ground. In half of football, he'll have 3 try assists and score 1 himself.
Oh, I love doing this. I love talking footy. So good.
I reckon Latu very soon, possibly in the trials, will really make the conversation to leave him out for round 1 very difficult. I'm not saying he will get picked round 1 in that 14 position with Abby being suspended, but I'm going to say it's going to be very difficult to leave him out because he's going to really show what he can do. And I think the first trial we see it happen.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if he starts having absolute blinders, other teams are going to come and knock him. But they can't for another 3 years.
He's here longer than Galvin. The way Galvin's been speaking lately, I'd be putting all of my certainty eggs in the Latu basket at the moment. Anyway, that's a comment for another day, mate. We might sail off into the sunset, I think. As we say every single week, make sure you get around all West Tigers media. Here we go, rattle them off. West Tigers Faithful, West Tigers Life, and West Tigers Podcast. It's nice now that everybody starts with West Tigers except for us because we're the Tiger Town podcast. But
yeah,
go support all of those shows, please. Tell them who sent you. Support everybody that supports our club. Rising Tide raises all ships. West Tigers Forum and The Ambush as well on Facebook. Make sure you follow us. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple is where you will find us. Comment, like, subscribe. You know how to do it by now. Figure it all out. We had an absolute belter of an episode a couple of weeks ago. Geez, it was good to talk footy, and the feedback that we got off everybody was unreal. Except one commenter on YouTube said I look like Gutho. Mate, fair dinkum.
Oh, let's call you the king.
You're
the
kidding.
King.
You should see me do the Guth Arena. It's horrendous. You don't want to, believe you
me.
No. But, mate,
we actually also did get our first ever hate mail. It was great.
Oh, we did, but I think I brought them around. I don't think they knew what was going on.
Oh, so you're just a smooth talker, mate.
We do feel as though we'd made it because we did have what Toby deems as hate mail, but we can't be really certain because, I don't know, it wasn't in English, I don't think. Couldn't work out what it was. Anyway, thank you to that feedback too, because it makes us enjoy what we do, mate. We're getting a bit long in the tooth. We're waffling as we tend to do at the back end of a show. Thanks to Best on Ground Digital for supporting the show as always. As we sail off into the sunset, mate. If I don't see you before next week, if we don't have people begging for a show next week, if you want to beg, go for it.
That was so creepy. Hey, the funniest thing is, and just so anyone's aware, you turned your mic off, mate. Because you did that, you turned your mic off.
Oh, is the mic working now?
It is now. That's pretty funny.
Oh, wow. There you go. Good. You've broken my cadence. Ladies and gentlemen, trial in a couple of weeks' time. Looking forward to watching a bit of footy and talking it with you. Thanks for tuning in, as always, and go the mighty West Tigers.
Up the Tigers.